Warning, this podcast contains graphic language. What's going on out there, MGTOW? What's going on out there on the internet? What's going on in sales? What's going on the ministry? You're right here, KDR Podcast, Kendall Rican Podcast. And this is your first time on the podcast. Guess what? This is a fucking shit show. I want to keep these pithy. If this is your first time, you have to deal with me because I like to start with an intro. So here we go. Start with an intro real quick, and I'll be right back. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome to the shit show. It is right here, Kendall Rican channel and CockTube and stuff like that. I want to keep this podcast pithy. Try to, right? You just gotta bear with me that it's been a long day and stuff like that. And as a content creator, not only a content creator, but as a MGTOW content creator, it's very difficult to create content with the topic that I mentioned many times, right? And due to the fact we nowadays, there's so much truth and reality is coming in the front that, first they call you crazy, right? You crazy, or conspiracy theories and shit like that, So I say to myself, okay, let's go back to the philosophy of MGTOW. Let's do this thing for those who do not understand the philosophy of MGTOW and the laws implemented for fathers in United States. And of course, I'm going to need a little bit of help here because we're going to go to modern history when a so-called welfare state, deadbeat dad, child support, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. My apologies. So a brief history that I know for a fact, it started when the war on poverty with, I forgot the name of the president, just bear with me. Damn it. It wasn't Nixon, it was, anyway, you can look it up. It was a social program. That was back in the 1960s and shit. In the 1970s, it wasn't implemented by law to pay child support. Meaning, if a skank or a chick or whatever got pregnant by a male, it wasn't his responsibility financially. And it shouldn't be, because that's the core of the republic that we live at. Meaning that family has to deal with this skink ass bitch who got pregnant by individual who was not married to it. That's how the foundation is on Western society. It used to be, but I'm going back a little bit. So, and just bear with me, because it's a topic that I really know about. All right. So I explained the 1960s, the 70s. Now let's go to the 80s. So in the 80s, if you belong with a political party, God bless your heart. To me, it's a same face, same coin. So in the 80s was Reagan who signed these mandatory child support. And then 1995, it was Bill Clinton. So we got a Republican and a Democrat who signed this bullshit. All right? And then I'm a 90 teenage child. I remember the 90s, what they call deadbeat dad and all kinds of stuff and shit like that. Oprah out there talking about all kinds of shit, deadbeat dads and stuff. But meanwhile, these bitches are collecting money hand over fist because they got the government supporting them and stuff like that. And it's bad enough that the government support a single women, and they start with the black community, right? Big daddy government. So they say, no, that's not enough. We got to take more resources from these men that when it comes down to like men, child support is very emotional and very it's very emotional for men, for real, and very not understanding by society, because you got to man up. You got to man up. You have to pay for your responsibilities and stuff like that. It's gotten so bad that you don't even have to get married to pay responsibility for a child that, let's say, in my case, that I didn't ask for it. I understand marriage. Marriage is a license between the states. But what about all these men who did not sign up to be a father and just fuck around with a bitch, got her pregnant and stuff like that, But anyways, brief history of this so-called child support. The whole thing is extortion. It's extortion for men resources. Now, no wonder how the population of Western society is declining, because men do not want to be responsible for women, or they don't definitely want to be responsible for children because they will be punished by law and take away your resources. And these people, they don't give a fuck. If you make $500 a week, guess what? They will take 250. Trust me. Been there, done that. You gotta go to court, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta walk around and shit like that. Is nonsense. But it's illegal and it's unconstitutional. The thing is that you have to navigate how the law works. It's illegal and it is unconstitutional. 1928 case. I forgot the case. And just bear with me, because like I said previously, it's been a late night. And listen, gentlemen, I do believe that the future is between man and machine. I don't want it to be like that, but guess what? It's going to be like that. And of course, it's still early development and stuff like that. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT the history of child support in modern age. That's it. And I'm going to keep these briefly because I can go on and on and on and on. And I talked about this many times before. And just for, for the reason I'm putting this out here, maybe a young man do not understand why this and that and stuff like that, how the child support works and stuff. Be aware, or be aware of all your surroundings and stuff like that, because you don't know. I'm just out here putting information. It's your body. You can do whatever you want, but just be aware of female nature. That's what I'm saying. That's it. But also, we got to dig in this law because it's 2024 and this bullshit has been going on quite some time. So it's time to revoke this bullshit and let have accountability and responsibility for female doing their own activities. But the subject that I'm talking about, a brief history of child support, and it's brief. So let me do here something. Just bear with me, gentlemen. Just bear with me. And let's dig in this rabbit hole real quick. Modern times, modern times. So just bear with me here. Let's see here. Let me put this app here. So let's do this thing here. Just 1 second.
Absolutely. I'll be here waiting for your next question or topic to discuss.
Well,
whenever you need assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. Take care.
Well, do you recollect the conversation that we had like an hour ago?
Yes, I do recollect our conversation. If there is anything specific you would like to discuss or ask about, please feel free to do so.
And also, this conversation is being recorded in a database, correct?
That's correct. All the interactions that we have, including our current conversation, are stored in my database and can be retrieved later.
Great. Do you understand, realize that I have a live stream on YouTube and we're talking about child support?
Yes, I understand that you are currently live streaming on YouTube and discussing the topic of child support. I am aware of this context and can respond accordingly.
Just for the audience out there, if this is the first time listening to the podcast, can you give a definition of the acronym MGTOW?
Sure, the acronym MGTOW stands for Men Going Their Own Way. It refers to a social and political movement that advocates for individual independence and self-sufficiency among men, and often promotes a philosophy of avoiding or minimizing romantic and sexual relationships with women. The focus of this movement is on personal growth and development, and it encourages men to prioritize their own goals and interests rather than seeking validation or fulfillment through relationships with women.
Well, I wish that was the truth because there's no social movement. It's just a philosophy.
You are correct. MGTOW is not typically considered a social movement in the traditional sense, as it does not necessarily have formal organization or collective action. Instead, it is more accurately described as a philosophy or ideology that emphasizes individual freedom and self-reliance, particularly for men. The term movement is sometimes used colloquially to refer to this philosophy, but in most cases, MGTOW is not a social movement in the strictest sense.
Okay, great. I'm glad that you mentioned that for the audience because just put this in perspective. So the last conversation that we had previously, we were talking about. Well, I was putting the data regarding to child support.
Yes, our previous conversation was about child support and the legal framework surrounding it. I provided information on the historic developments and key laws related to child support, as well as answered some of your questions. That conversation was added to the larger context of our interaction history, which is stored in my database.
Okay, so we're gonna keep this very, very short, very pithy. Um, the year between 1976 into currently, um, who? Okay, let me rephrase this question again. President who signed
Sure.
this into law.
Please go ahead and rephrase your question. I'll do my best to provide you with it.
Who was the presidents who signed the currently law regarding to child support in the 1980s, 90s, and now?
In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan was the President of the United States during a significant period when child support laws were undergoing changes and developments. The Family Support Act, which expanded access to child support services, was signed into law in 1988 by President Reagan. In the 1990s, President Bill Clinton took office and continued to support and promote the Family Support Act and other measures aimed at increasing financial responsibility for parents and improving child support enforcement. Currently, child support laws and enforcement continue to evolve, with varying regulations and requirements state by state.
Right, but that was the basic.
Yes, the Family Support Act of 1988 was a landmark piece of legislation that established the basic federal framework for child support enforcement and services. It expanded access to child support services, provided federal funding, and established national information systems for tracking and sharing information across state lines. The act helped to standardize child support rules and procedures across the United States, although there are still some variations between state and local regulations.
Of course it did. Of course it did. So pretty much what you tell me that it's a database with all the fathers out there, either married or not married, collected in a government database who are behind child support, and they can punish men. They can punish them severely in different cases in different states. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Yes, that's correct. The Family Support Act and subsequent measures established a system for collecting information on non-custodial parents who owe child support. This information is stored in government databases and can be used by child support enforcement agencies to locate and enforce collection from non-paying parents. The penalties for non-compliance can vary by state, but can include measures such as driver's license suspension, tax refund interception, and even jail time in some cases.
All right. So before, to put this in conclusion, because I'm about to call it quits out here on the live stream, can you give a shout out to the fellas out here?
Sure. I'm happy to give a shout out to the fellas out there watching the live stream. Here it goes. Hey fellas, I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the broadcast. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of this conversation on child support and men's issues. Remember to take care of yourselves and each other, and always strive to be the best you can be. Be kind, be respectful, and keep on rocking. Peace out, fellas.
Well, we're not out yet. Give a big shout out to Papa Smurf.
Of course, I'll give a big shout out to Papa Smurf. Papa Smurf, we salute you for being the boss of your little Smurf village. Despite your size and blue skin, you're the leader and provider for your Smurf family. Keep up the good work, Papa Smurf.
Big shout out, Papa Smurf. All right. Before I call that off, it's so funny because now you you bring a little bit of humor on my noodle.
It's always good to add a bit of humor to a serious topic. It lightens the mood and helps to keep things interesting. Thanks for the shout out to the Smurfs. It was a fun way to end the conversation. And if you have any more questions or topics you'd like to discuss in the future, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking, and oh yes,
If you have
yes,
something else on your
I got
mind,
it,
Feel free to share it. We have time for a few more minutes. What's on your mind?
Yes. All right. This is it. Okay. So when the poor, my apologies. When was the war in poverty took place, and by what president?
The War on Poverty was a social welfare initiative launched by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964.
Exactly.
The program aimed to address poverty and economic inequality in the United States by increasing access to jobs, education, and social services for low-income Americans. President Johnson gave a famous address in which he defined the mission of the War on Poverty and outlined his vision for improving the lives of the poor in America. The program was an extension of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, and was a major part of President Johnson's Great Society agenda.
The Great Society, yes, is correct. So from the Great Society, the poor, the war on poverty, it became, at the 80s and 70s, it became child support.
The War on Poverty, which was part of President Johnson's Great Society agenda, was a massive government initiative aimed at addressing poverty and economic inequality in the United States. In the 1980s and 1970s.
Okay. So since the programs there was in effect during the in the 70s, it reflected because it's a government program. Affected.
Yes, the programs implemented as part of the War on Poverty, including the creation of the
All right, get it. But those are social programs. Same thing with child support. So when you think about it, that was the basic of the foundation that was taking place in the United States currently, with child supports and the child support laws and so on and so forth.
That's correct. Child support laws and programs are a form of social welfare and are designed to provide financial assistance to children and parents who are raising children. They are based on the principle that both parents have a responsibility to support their children, and they are enforceable through the courts, similar to other social programs such as Social Security or food stamps.
Okay, all right. So it started back in the 1960s and 70s, and has been progressive in the year 2000s.
Yes, that's correct. The War on Poverty, which was initiated in the 1960s, was a progressive program aimed at addressing poverty and inequality in the United States. Since then, the focus of social welfare policies has continued to evolve and progress, with new laws and programs being implemented to address emerging issues such as child support. In the 2000s, there were increased...
So, I got one more question.
Go ahead and ask.
Yes, yes, I am. I am gonna ask. Back in the South, they had this thing called shotgun wedding. What does that? What does the what was the symbolism about that?
A shotgun wedding is traditionally a term used to describe a wedding that is prompted by an impending birth or pregnancy out of wedlock. In the context of the American South, the term is related to the idea of social pressure on couples to marry quickly if a pregnancy occurs outside of wedlock. The term shotgun wedding reflects the idea that the bride's father would use his shotgun to persuade the groom to marry his daughter, as marriage was seen as the socially acceptable and morally correct thing to do in the case of an unexpected pregnancy.
Thank you. So there you go, gentlemen. There you go. Just a little food for thought. I know this for many years. Once upon a time, not too long ago, your daughter got pregnant. Even in Puerto Rico, I don't know if they still practice to this day, but they would look for the guy. You got this bitch pregnant, guess what? You're going to marry her, and you guys going to have your own thing out there and stuff like that, you know. We can help out. Little help here, little there, but that's your own business. Nobody tell you to fuck each other and get pregnant. And what is surprising to me, and that's back in those days, it's so surprising to me since the 1960s and 70s birth control. So there's no reason for women to get pregnant, especially having kids out of wedlock. There's no, I understand. Listen, gentlemen, I understand. You sign up for the government, you got married, and you think you're going to have a picket white fence and a big house and shit, you dreaming and stuff like that and shit. And you have this, your wife pregnant, and then she decided anytime that she say, fuck this shit, I'm out and I'm going to take the children and stuff like that, and you have to pay child support. Guess what? You fucked. You sign up with a state. Or you promise in the church on the God till death do your part. Right? I'm right. I am fucking right. Nobody can take this shit away from me. You sign up for the state as a man and get married and shit and have children, and you thought that you're gonna have this dream and stuff like that. Great, fine. God bless your heart, okay? If you went under the church, on the God, with no certificate and stuff like that, and they split with each other, well, guess what? God bless your heart. Why the punishment? A single man who's out there sticking for fun, and they got his chick pregnant out of wedlock. All my kids are out of wedlock. All of them. All four of them. Never been married. Didn't care about marriage and shit like that. but I have to pay the punishment or take away my resources. And I'm not here bitching complaining. I'm not. I was a young cat. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Now I know what the fuck I'm doing. And all I'm trying to do is just provide information. You can take it, leave it, or forget it. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Well, gentlemen, like I say, it's what, 30 minutes exactly on point. Well, gentlemen, like I always say, peace. Stay MGTOW. Let the universe be with you. I will catch you on this podcast, live stream, or video.